Tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Caregiver Solutions Info. Thank you for joining us today. We're so glad that you did. This show is for you, the caregiver. If you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's or some other related dementia, then this show is for you. Every week, we're talking to professionals in different areas that are going to give you tips and advice and good information to help make your caregiving efforts a little bit easier. We also have actual caregivers on the show, people that you can identify with, people that have walked in your shoes so that you know that you're not alone. So welcome, and I'm glad that you're here. Today is Tuesday, October 20th, 2015. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about ways that caregivers can relax. And we all know that caregivers need to relax because caregiving is a very difficult job. And everybody needs to relax for that matter, but caregivers have an extra burden. And we're going to be talking about how you can help yourselves. But first, we're going to talk about our Brain Booster tip of the week. This week's Brain Booster is something that we all used to do as a kid. Now, Brain Booster is something that we want to let you know to improve your memory or retain the cognitive abilities that you have, and something that's going to boost your brain. So if you think back when you were a kid, what was one of your favorite things you liked to do? Mine was coloring. So the tip of the week is indulge yourself and go back to coloring. Do you know that it's all the rage now? They actually are printing adult coloring books. And they're not what you would think as the little children do, but they're very, very exciting because they're intricate and they're geometrical configurations, and they're beautiful, beautiful types of pages that you can flip through and find what speaks to you. Whether you use markers, whether you use crayons, or whether you use color pencils, this is a way for caregivers to indulge themselves and spend a little bit of time for yourself, because what it does is that it puts you in a creative state. It brings out a little of your artistic abilities, and yes, everybody has some, and it's more of a meditative exercise, because when you're doing your coloring and you're involved and you're really concentrating and you're picking out the colors you want to use and what part of the diagram you want to color in first, it's actually doing your brain some good. So the researchers have said that this is a good thing, and it doesn't cost much, and it's something that we all used to enjoy. So be a kid again and spend a little bit of time coloring. So that's the tip of the week. Caregiving is very stressful, and anything that we can do to relax is a very welcome treat. So today we're talking about ways that caregivers can relax. And one of the ways is, I'm sure you may or may not have heard of it before, but it's called Reiki. And here in our studio with us today is a Reiki master, and she's going to be talking to us about Reiki, what it means, and how we can benefit from that. So welcome, Deborah Andrade.
Hi, Marcia. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. So you're a Reiki master.
I am.
So before we get started, I'd like to actually read the definition I found, what Reiki is, and this is what it says. Reiki is a healing technique based on the principle that the therapist can channel energy into the patient by means of touch to activate the natural healing process of the patient's body and restore physical and emotional well-being.
Exactly.
So, what does that mean in real words?
Reiki is always gentle, it is non-invasive, and it is always for the greater good for the client. Reiki means life force, energy, and when I come in contact with people, we all have energy. You have energy, I have energy, and sometimes we don't prefer the other person's energy. Sometimes we connect automatically with the person's energy. That has nothing to do with Reiki. Reiki is something that we all are equipped to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Anybody can do it?
Yes, yes.
So, walk me through a process of what it means to do Reiki. What does that actually mean? And tell me how someone could do it or how they could learn to do it. Because as a master, I'm sure that you know, obviously you have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and that's why you're here to share that with our caregivers.
Unfortunately, I do more of a hands-on than I do the speaking, so it's a little difficult for me to translate, but I'll do the best I can today.
Okay. So, what is Reiki? How do you perform Reiki?
Okay. I usually come in with my massage table and put the client on a massage table comfortably. If they have mobility problems, then we can adjust to that. We can do it in a recliner or in a sitting chair, sometimes in their bed if they prefer. Whatever is more comfortable, we'll adjust with pillows and blankets. And
so you're laying down. It's a lay down position.
Sure. Mm-hmm. But again, it doesn't have to be. We can be in the chair that we're sitting in right now.
Okay.
It can be performed anywhere at any time and in any position.
So you don't need any special equipment, really?
No tools, no oils, nothing, no voodoo creams or anything like that. It's just a hands-on healing.
Hands-on healing. So you're actually touching people.
The traditional Reiki is not done with touching. It's 1 to 2 inches above the body. I usually start off that way when I'm working with a new client because a lot of people come from past that they've had some kind of abuse. We just don't know what people's stories are. And I prefer to do it the traditional way, like I said, from in the beginning. And then once I get a rapport going with the client, then I'll ask them if I'm able to touch them, and I'll touch them very softly.
Well, that's interesting because I just met with a daughter today. Her husband has Alzheimer's. I mean, her dad has Alzheimer's, and she was in, and we were talking, and it actually came out in conversation that she's not a hugger. And she said, my mother's a big hugger, but I just don't like to be touched. And she goes, I don't know what it is. It's just me. I said, well, that's okay. Everybody has their own, way about it. But she would be somebody that would probably not enjoy the initial touching.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's good to know that you don't have to have a hands-on.
Right.
So you do it above the skin, so there's actually energy that is created?
1 to 2 inches above the skin in different hand positions around the body. And again, they will feel the energy a lot of the times. And I can either bring my hands away from them or keep going closer, but they'll feel what's going on.
And what do they feel? Is it heat or?
Sometimes it's heat, sometimes it's tingling. There's all different sensations that a client will feel. And they're completely dressed, so they don't have to feel that they're exposed at all, wearing socks or even their shoes if they prefer.
Okay. And what is the purpose of doing Reiki? What's the purpose? Why would somebody do it? What's the goal? What's the outcome?
The benefits. Mm-hmm. The benefits are many. To lower blood pressure, to increase the immune, help the immune system. It's overall relaxation and a sense of tranquility.
So when someone is in a Reiki position and they're working with a Reiki master or Reiki teacher, how long approximately are the sessions?
I usually run an hour.
And is that recommended for an hour to get the most benefit?
Yes. It doesn't always have to be, if, like I said, if the patient can't sit still for that long, if they're uncomfortable, we can shift, we can go back, we can stop and start in between.
Okay. And is there conversation going on during the session?
I prefer there not to be, so the concentration is there because I'm actually meditating in before, during, and after the session.
You are.
I am. I'm praying. I'm praying over their body. And not in any specific form, not in any specific religion. I'm just praying for the greater good, for the energy to come through and go through to the patients.
So it's not really a religious practice,
No.
but it's more of a spiritual energy, higher
Absolutely.
power type of thing.
Absolutely. And we're all capable of doing it. There are self-taught people out there that are doing it. It's such a natural thing. When a child falls and scrapes its knee, it goes running to mommy and wants mommy to touch it and kiss it and
Right.
make it feel better. That's innate. When a baby has a temperature, the mother intuitively puts her hand on the baby's forehead. And, this is something that we've been doing for generations and generations.
Well, I know it's been around a long, long time. So obviously there's benefits from it, but people are still doing it. Do doctors usually recommend to people to have Reiki sessions? Do you come across doctors that would actually recommend this, or are they not attuned to the benefits of something
There
like
are
this?
younger doctors out there that are accepting of it, and they can't really say not to include it. It's a form of therapy that helps along with, never in place of, but along with what the doctor is suggesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it doesn't hinder or in any way interfere with traditional medicine?
Never.
It's just something to help.
Exactly.
Sounds like, do you instruct your, client, I guess you call them, do you instruct your client to also meditate during this time?
A lot of people get
Or do they
freaked
fall
out.
asleep?
A lot of people are afraid of meditation. They think that they should be closing their mind to everything on the outside. That's impossible for us to do as humans. Thoughts are going to keep coming in and going out. So I don't tell them to meditate. I tell them to just breathe and relax.
Okay, and do people actually fall asleep sometimes?
Yes, they do. And that's my greatest compliment when they do, actually.
Because then they really have relaxed.
Exactly.
You've hit the ultimate
Exactly.
goal. Because if you're laying down and you're used to going 90 miles a minute as a caregiver, and you have an opportunity to relax and have soothing time and just to yourself, I can see where people would fall asleep. So that's a good thing.
Right. And it produces, it brings up a lot of toxins. And I tell people once we're done with the session that they may have some irregular sleep. They may sleep very well. Drink a lot of water afterwards, just as if you've had a massage. But again, this is not a massage.
Okay.
It's energy work.
It's energy work. Very interesting. So tell me, if someone wanted to try this, would they try it? Do you come to them? Do they come to you? How does that work?
I can make it very convenient. I come with a massage table. I come with my little radio with soothing music and bolsters and blankets and all that good stuff, and make somebody very comfortable. Again, they don't have to get onto the massage table. We can do it in any place in their home that they feel comfortable.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Right, take time out for yourself. That sounds
Exactly.
wonderful. And I guess this isn't anything that's medical, so it's not really covered by insurance or anything like that.
Not yet,
So it's
it's not.
basically a private pay type of situation?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know what? It's a way for caregivers to relax, just one of many that we want to bring to you, this opportunity to learn about. And if someone had questions for you, Deborah, or they wanted to maybe schedule a session with you, how could they do that?
They can do that by calling me.
And your phone number?
561-777-2317.
All right, give that number again.
561-777-2317.
Okay, and you actually go to
And
their
I will
home,
travel to
and
their
you will
home.
travel
Yes.
all of Palm Beach County?
Sure.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's so awesome. So there you go. It's a way to relax, something maybe that you haven't tried before. We all need to step out of our comfort zones, because certainly as caregivers, you're dealing with the behaviors and the troubles and trials and tribulations with taking care of someone with Alzheimer's. So you've already stepped out of your comfort zone, because it's not something that we inherently know how to do. And I understand too, Deborah, that you have been a caregiver for someone in your family with
Absolutely.
dementia. So you know what you're talking about. You know how it can help caregivers, and they should at least try it and see if it can help them as well.
We deserve to be relaxed.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank you
in
very
today.
much.
I appreciate it. We're going to go to commercial break and stay with us.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. Make First Choice your first choice for home health care. First Choice is state certified for Medicare-covered services such as medical treatment and rehabilitation. Qualified healthcare professionals come to your home and work closely with your doctor to build a care plan designed to get you back on your feet as soon as possible. Founded and operated by registered nurses, First Choice Home Health is dedicated to providing exceptional home health care. Their highly skilled medical professionals have the knowledge and ability to provide patients quality care. Call First Choice Home Health at 561-296-2770. That's 561-296-2770. And tell them you want them as your first choice. Take a pen and jot down this information. Right from the Heart assists families in finding the right living arrangements for their aging parents. Founded in 2012 by Sharon Agate, Senior Lifestyle Consultant, Sharon has counseled seniors and their families for over 20 years in clinical settings and in independent assisted living and memory care communities. Finding the right community can be overwhelming and time-consuming. Right from the Heart takes the stress and worry from you. Sharon will meet with mom or dad and evaluate their needs and lifestyle preferences and create a personalized plan at no cost to you. She will accompany you to visit selected communities and guide you every step of the way so you can be assured you're making a well-informed decision. Call Sharon at 561-374-4696. Sharon's promise to you is in your knowing that her advice will always come right from the heart. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and welcome back. I want to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community, for making this show possible. Arden Courts is a leader in dementia and Alzheimer's care all across the United States, and they care about you, the caregiver, too. So one of the things that Arden Courts would like to offer to you as a caregiver is a free day of respite, a day where you can relax, do what you want to do, and at the same time have your loved one be in a safe, secure environment at an Arden Courts nearest you. That way, they can have fun, you can do what you need to do, and everybody's had a great day. If you're interested in learning more about this free day stay or day of respite, all you have to do is call the toll-free number of Arden Courts, which is 888-478-2410. Tell them that you heard about the respite stay on the Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and you'd like to learn more about that and figure out how you can schedule a day for you. So take that call, make that call. They're there waiting for you. They answer the phone 365 days a year because caregiving doesn't stop. And so Arden Courts is there for you at all times until 11 o'clock at night, every day of the week. So call Arden Courts and find out how you can have a day stay. Now, we've been talking about ways caregivers can relax. Besides having a free day stay at an Arden Courts, one of the ways we just talked about was Reiki, and we talked to Deborah about that. And now we have with us a yoga instructor, and I'm very excited for you to meet Brooke Wazik. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, Marcia.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm real excited to have you because, yoga, everybody's heard of yoga, I mean, pretty much. But I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what yoga is. I think a lot of people, when they hear yoga, they think of hippies for some reason. Back in the 60s, everybody's, doing their thing and peace, love, happiness, yoga, all of that. And so I want to talk about yoga for the rest of this session because I know it's very beneficial. I am actually a yoga student, I guess you would call it, a new yoga student, and I saw the benefits of it for myself, and I thought, what a wonderful thing to bring to caregivers. Caregivers are under a lot of stress. Caregivers are not focused because they have too many things going on in their brain. They just are overwhelmed. And they need to relax, and I think one of the things that we can bring to their attention is ways for them to relax, and yoga would be a perfect example, in my opinion. But you're the expert, and I wanted to ask you, first of all, how did you get into being a yoga instructor, and how difficult was it to learn, and where did you learn it?
Well, I have a background in dance. I went to an arts high school for dance, so I've always been very kinesthetic. And even in high school, I remember going to Barnes & Noble and buying a book of asanas, and those are the yoga poses, and doing some things in my backyard. But I didn't really start to develop a regular practice until my early 20s. I was living in Miami Beach, and I was going to a class on the beach. It was lovely. And that was when I decided I was going to become a yoga teacher. And I decided that go to the source. So I thought I will do my yoga teacher training in India.
So you actually went to India?
I did.
Well, that was pretty brave at a young age, right?
Well, I didn't end up going till years later, but it was on my bucket list and it's been checked off. So that's handled. So yes, I went to India to do my yoga teacher training, and that provided me with a very traditional experience. The training was a form of yoga called Hatha yoga. Hatha actually means sun moon. And so a lot of yoga is about balance and, creating balance. So once I returned to the States and began teaching, I realized that I was going to have to let go of my very traditional beliefs about it that were, because I wanted it to be accessible to everyone. And not everyone comes to yoga for the same reasons.
So when you were in India and you were learning how long were you there, by the way?
I was there for 4 weeks.
Wow, that's a long time.
It was just right at the end, the monsoon season started. So when I did leave, even though I enjoyed my stay, I was happy to go.
Just in time. So when you were there and you learned this traditional way and you came to the United States to actually begin the teaching, did you find it difficult getting people to be interested in yoga?
Well, I found that, when I first started, I worked in a small studio, so there wasn't a tremendous amount of students coming to the studio anyway, and my classes usually had about 5 people, which was okay to start. But I noticed that myself, one of the things that we learned in the teacher training was that yoga is not exercise. And in its traditional form, it is not meant to be exercise. Exercise typically is aerobic, and you're purposefully trying to increase your heart rate to burn calories and exercise your cardiovascular system, etc. And in the practice of yoga, we're actually doing the opposite. We're trying to slow the breath and steady the heart rate. So in fact, if you're in an asana practice, a yoga practice, and you notice that your heart rate is increasing or that your breath has become shallow, that's actually a signal from your body that perhaps now would be a good time for you to rest, steady your breath once again, and then resume.
So how did yoga get started, or why did it get started, and what's the goal? What's the big picture? What's the overall benefit of even trying to do yoga?
Well, the word yoga is actually pronounced yog, and it means to join. And it's related, it's where like the word yoke comes from, as in yoke the oxen to the cart.
Right.
So on a practical sense, you can think of it as joining your mind and body. You can also think of it in another context, but I'll get to that next.
Okay.
So in joining your mind and body, you're bringing your awareness, your consciousness into your physical body. And for whatever reasons, a lot of people don't really experience their physical bodies. We do a lot of thinking and we exert a lot of mental energy. And so it's quite possible for people to be very disconnected from their physical body. And the body really can serve as a feedback mechanism. So when you can tune into your body, it's giving you messages all the time. And you innately know this. So like if you are walking in a dark alley, your body changes. Your chest might tense up, your shoulders might round over
a little scared, maybe,
because you're experiencing fear or a level of cautiousness that makes sense given the circumstances. So there's always reacting and giving us information, and when we can tune into that information, it can really support us. We could potentially even address things before they get to the level of disease.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. So the the yogis, people are called yogis, actually?
Male practitioners of yoga are called yogis, and female practitioners are called yoginis.
Oh, so you're a yogini.
Indeed.
Okay, I like that. So when you actually start practicing with people, now I know that a lot of people tell me, oh, I tried that, or I don't like it, or I don't think that's for me, because I think they have a lot of misconceptions about what actually happens, you know, when you go to a yoga class. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because I have a friend that I invited to come, and she says, oh, that's not for me. Well, I wanted to tell her, it's not for me either, but I actually go because I know it's good for me. And when I tell people that I go to yoga class, and I've been, probably this is my third session with you now, at least 3 or 4 sessions I've been doing, I didn't really want to go because I felt at first it was too hard. And I think a lot of people might think that also. So I wanted to share with people that, you know, it's not a competition. It's not where you have to compare yourself with other people.
In fact, it's very introspective.
Right.
Ideally, once you're on your mat, you're somewhat tuned out to what the fact that there are even people around you, because you're tuning in. I mean, I believe, I say that in the beginning of the class, start to focus your attention inward, rotate your awareness inward, and start to observe your body and your breath. Yeah, so I think it is common. People have this tendency to expect that they should look like whatever they've seen in a magazine or the person next to them. And I always say, wherever you are is perfect. It's the only place you could be. I've even had people say to me, well, I don't do yoga because I'm not flexible. And then I say, you're the perfect person to do yoga.
You're the one that should be doing
because
it.
You're not flexible. That is exactly why you would go to yoga.
Exactly.
Because your body is malleable. And yes, certainly if you're 90 years old and you've not been moving for a very long time, the shift might be a slower process, but it's always changing. I've seen incredibly dramatic changes in people's bodies in weeks.
Well, I just have to share this. I mean, it was so funny to me. The very first time I came to a class, and I felt like a duck out of water, and I was looking around and saw all of these people that knew how to do all the different positions, and I didn't know anything.
Which you saw through your filter. They might not have really known even. Go on.
And I found it kind of difficult, and I felt inadequate, and I thought, I just can't do this. And I came to you after the class, and I said, I don't think this is for me. It's kind of hard, and don't you have an easier class? Because it seems like these people, all the other people were very much more experienced. And you said, well, just keep coming, just come again. So I said, okay. So I came the next week, and lo and behold, wow, I could do one pose. easier, and I did another type of pose, and I'm like, wow, I'm going to have to thank Brooke because she made this class easier for me. And I came up to you after the class, I'll never forget this, and I thanked you for making the class easier so I could do it. And you said, well, I didn't make it easier. I said, yes, you did. It was much easier. And, we had this little conversation and debate, and you said, no. You said it was all in your mindset, and it was all something that you created in your mind. And I think that was very interesting because it does happen. It does feel different if you keep doing it.
Yeah, you bring up something that's really fascinating, like how our experience is so much about perception.
Yes.
And that is filtered through all of our past experience. So it actually connects. Earlier in the show, you were talking about how to deal with the stresses of being a caregiver. And I wanted to just mention that stress in life doesn't typically change, and whatever people are experiencing that's challenging is stressful for them. So what we do have control over is how we deal with that stress, and a lot of that comes down to perception and the stories that we tell ourselves. So when, hypothetically, like my mother cared for my grandmother, and, in that stressful scenario where she was going to her house before work and coming there on her lunch break and checking on her, and it's easy to fall into this victim mindset of it's too much, how can I do this, I can't. But when we tell ourselves those stories, we continue to create the distress. So as challenging as it may be to change our habits of mind, there's real power in shifting our perceptions of this situation. And it's, sometimes it's a fake it till you make it situation as well, because, Rome wasn't built in a day.
That's true. That's true. So the story goes, now that I've been continuing and have gone for several sessions, my friends said, oh, you do yoga, or people that I meet, and I said, oh, I got to go to yoga class. They said, oh, you do yoga? And I said, yeah. And they go, well, do you like it? And I said, no. And they look at me so funny and so surprised, and they said, you don't? And I said, no. But I go because it's good for me, and I know it's good for me. And then eventually you keep doing this and you feel differently. And
so you like the results.
Yes, and you like the results. That's true. Mm-hmm. And so, no, I don't particularly like going because it's an effort. You have to make yourself. I mean, anybody that, it's always been said, anything worth doing is worth doing well, or putting effort in, and whatever effort you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. So it is an effort, to take that time and set aside for yourself, and caregivers don't always take that time, and it is an effort to plan. You have to plan your relaxation.
It's a discipline.
And so I do it because I know it's good for me, and it's not always easy to plan and to do it, but because I keep doing it, then it becomes more routine, and then you realize that this actually feels good, that I like the results. And then when we had a break over the summer, when we didn't have our classes, I'm telling you, I noticed a difference. I was a lot more stiff and creaky, and I could not wait until we started up again. So now I'm a believer. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more from Brooke, the yoga instructor.
Take a pen and jot down this information. Right from the Heart assists families in finding the right living arrangements for their aging parents. Founded in 2012 by Sharon Agate, Senior Lifestyle Consultant, Sharon has counseled seniors and their families for over 20 years in clinical settings and in independent assisted living and memory care communities. Finding the right community can be overwhelming and time-consuming. Right from the Heart takes the stress and worry from you. Sharon will meet with mom or dad and evaluate their needs and lifestyle preferences and create a personalized plan at no cost to you. She will accompany you to visit selected communities and guide you every step of the way so you can be assured you're making a well-informed decision. Call Sharon at 561-374-4696. Sharon's promise to you is in your knowing that her advice will always come right from the heart. Do you need the advice of an elder law attorney but perhaps find it difficult or overwhelming getting to appointments? The solution is the Elder Law Department. They bring elder law to you by meeting with you in the comfort of your own surroundings to discuss your personal situation and family needs. In practice since 1994, Heidi Friedman is a member of the Elder Law section of the Florida Bar. She and her team help families with issues that include incapacity and estate planning, asset preservation, veterans benefits, and other legal issues that seniors may face. Call the Elder Law Department at 954-383-1143. 954-383-1143. They bring elder law to you. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and we're back with Brooke Wazek, yoga instructor, and we've been talking about the benefits of yoga. So I hope you listen carefully because it's amazing what yoga can do for you. Hi, Brooke. Thanks for coming again. I wanted to share with everyone this article that I found about yoga. We talked in the first part about how yoga is not exercise and how yoga has a benefit to it that's different from exercise. So there's an article here. Researchers found that 20 minutes of hatha yoga significantly improves brain function, particularly in the ability to maintain focus and process and use new information. So right there is a benefit for keeping our brains healthier, keeping our focus. It's really good for our brain. We want to maintain our brain function. So right there is a benefit. It goes on to say that this study at the University of Illinois, people that took tests, cognitive tests, following yoga against other people who did 20 minutes of moderate to strenuous aerobic exercise actually did better. So that was pretty amazing to me. And they say that the brain boost that you get from yoga stems from the breathing, the meditative exercises, which is aimed at calming the mind and the body and aiding in the focus. And overall, they say that these benefits that yoga provides last way beyond the yoga session. So I'm sure that you agree with that.
I do.
And it's not exercise, but in a way, it kind of is, only because it's a different form where it's more stretching and
It's an exercise of your concentration and consciousness, really, if you want to look at it as exercise. One of the, I think we live in this world where we're used to things just happening. And so it's maybe a slower process, but what does happen is in the yoga practice, you're becoming the observer. So just noticing when your mind wanders and then bringing your awareness back to your breath, you've now become this observer. You can slightly step out and say, oh, look, my thoughts ran off to my laundry. And now I'm choosing to call them back to my breath because in this moment, my commitment is to be present and breathing through my asana practice.
so that helps you focus.
So it's exercising your focus muscle, and it is a form of meditation. It's a form of moving meditation. So in doing that, we start to be able to separate a little bit and become the observer of how we respond or what's going on. In life, we're constantly getting influx of input, sensory information, and it's very easy to react quickly to that. One piece of feedback that I've received from multiple different students on many different occasions is that over the course of their practice, what they noticed that they found most beneficial for them through their yoga practice was that they're able to remain calm in stressful situations. And I see that as really, they've started to separate themselves so they don't identify with who they are in the reaction. So they start to recognize that their consciousness, like the higher self or whatever you want to call it, is the observer of the being that is engaging in the world and going through life and And once the observer comes out and you can separate the observer and the observer can observe, so-and-so said this, and this is how I felt. And my instinct, my first response was maybe to yell and scream.
To react.
Mm-hmm. But the observer can make a choice there. The observer can say, well, is it going to serve me to yell and scream? I want to yell and scream maybe because I'm hurt or angry. But what end is that going to get me to? What result will that create? Is that the result I really want to create? So from that place, you sort of start to create this space where you actually create choice for yourself. So through the asana practice, coming to the practice, going through the poses, being present, staying connected with your breath, noticing when your mind wanders and calling your awareness back to your breath, you start to exercise this muscle of awareness and presence and being able to observe. And then when you can do that, you have this little gap in space between an event and your reaction. And in that gap, you can make a choice. And you can choose from your higher self, like, what is your end result really? You can easily, everyone can relate to traffic. Someone cuts you off, you can react and you can yell out the window. You could follow that out and think of all the potential consequences of that. And none of them are probably really beneficial to any party. You could also start to become the observer, have that scenario play out, have that little gap between the event and your reaction, and say to yourself, that angered me, and I'm not going to get angry. I don't know what's going on with that person. Maybe they're experiencing a tremendous amount of stress in their own lives and they cut me off because they're rushing to get home to whatever situation they're dealing with. And then I've completely bypassed all of the potentially negative energy that I would have created in reacting to that situation by yelling and screaming or honking and getting upset.
Wow, that is pretty amazing. Caregivers are stressed out all the time. They tell me how they react. So when their loved one, their spouse, does something or doesn't do something that they're supposed to do, they're reacting, and they're, like you say, they might be yelling, they get frustrated, they get upset, they don't know what to do, so it's an automatic response that they're putting out there, and it's usually a negative one. And what happens is they get negative back. It's almost like it's a mirror. It comes back to them. So whatever they're putting out, they're getting that back from the person that has Alzheimer's, because they're putting that this negative, they're yelling, whatever. That's not going to cause a calm situation. And so they're only creating more turmoil in the situation.
And then probably later, upon reflection, they feel some guilt about it, because then they have time to think, okay, this person maybe isn't even completely conscious of their response, etc.
Absolutely. And then they feel bad. And they feel really bad, especially because they know that they lashed out. And then the person with dementia doesn't even remember what they did wrong. And so, we remember, what we did, but the person with dementia, they don't remember what they did. So the caregivers just carry around all of this guilt and frustration. And so if they could do what you're saying that yoga can do for them, to train their mind how to step away from the situation, even for a few seconds, so that they wouldn't react or do this negative reaction, that it's going to create a calmer environment, not only for them, but for the person that they're caring for.
Yeah, and we have to remember that, we're all human beings, and it's part of the yoga practice is also having compassion with yourself. And so we all do this, and everyone is somewhere on the spectrum in their practice. And again, wherever you are is the only place you could be. So, but we can use these tools, these mechanisms, to improve that practice and to get ourselves to a place where we are at a choice in how we respond to situations. A lot of the times when we're responding with anger or frustration, it's kind of comes from the ego. It's like a self, it's how is this affecting me, and why is this happening to me? And if when the whole world acts like that, we get a lot of tension, chaos, and negativity. And
look at the world, the chaotic issues all over the world.
Absolutely. And there's a magical thing that happens that I don't know even if I can explain, but I'll sure try.
Okay.
That when we start to turn our focus outward and we start to look at, how can I be of support? Like, how can I make this moment better? How can I improve this situation? That also has a ripple effect, just the same way yelling and screaming might, And it just shifts people. I imagine, because at the core, my belief is that we're all really love, and our natural state is to be loving and kind and compassionate. And we all have experiences and traumas that kind of cover that up to different degrees. And so part of the yoga process or the yoga practice and just in general growing and evolving in life process is just peeling away those things, those like traumas and experiences so that we can get to the core of who we really are, which is love, and come from this place of love. Because if we each could do that on this individual level, we would have a peaceful world.
That's right. That's right.
Because it ripples out, because it triggers something in someone else, even someone who's angry or upset. When you can come at them really from a genuine, authentic place of love in this moment,
it diffuses them.
It does.
Yeah.
Because it connects with some core of their being, which is what we really all want. We all really want to love and be loved.
Right. We want to be loved. We want to be heard. We want to be respected, appreciated.
But they all kind of boil down to love.
Yes. Yes, you're right. That's amazing. Who would be a perfect candidate for doing yoga?
I believe that yoga could impact everyone. I think, in the Western world, we tend to think of yoga as the asanas, the poses. And that's only one component of an 8-limb practice of yoga. So we focus on that here, and it's what gets people in the door, and it brings them value too, so it's perfect. So if you only ever wanted to do the asanas, great. That's awesome.
Asanas like the tree pose.
Down dog, sun salutations, cobra. Yes,
all the
different poses that you can do. But, not everyone has that that level of mobility, that range of motion, and that doesn't mean that you can't have a yoga practice. One of the limbs is called pranayama, which is the breathing aspects of it. So there are various breathing exercises. The two of the limbs are the yamas and niyamas, which are self-disciplines and social disciplines. So things like practicing nonviolence, and that even refers to practicing nonviolence with the self as well. So
don't beat up on yourself.
From the self beat up that happens internally for most of us.
A lot of people can really do a good number on themselves.
Yeah. So, you could have a yoga practice. My teacher always says you could come to the class. He teaches an 1.5-hour class. You could come to the class and you could lay on your mat and breathe, and you can have just as much value from that as you could from doing all of the poses that we do.
Wow. That's great. I know one thing that comes out of it is more peace. You have a peaceful feeling. I know you always end the practice, everything is just so peaceful, and it's almost like you walk out like you're floating on air sometimes because you're letting go, right? You're letting go of a lot of this stuff that we carry in with us.
Yeah, well, because a lot of that stuff is not present. So there's two places we go when we're not present, and those are either the past or the future. And when you go to the past, you're experiencing guilt or shame or I should have, I could have, I wish I had, etc. And then when you're in the future, it's worry and anxiety and I have to and I better and I gotta on some level, in a maybe slightly more philosophical context, neither of those exist. All we have is this moment. So when you can bring yourself into this moment, into your physical body, this is it. How do you feel right now? Everything's okay,
So that's part of that awareness.
The yoga practice, when you leave the yoga class, I think what's happening is really you have become present in your body, in the moment.
And you're not worried about what the future, and you're not stressed out about the past.
Exactly. So you're not disconnecting from the present. And that is peaceful because it's all we've got. Here we are, and it's really, when we're not being present, it's just a distraction. So it does feel more peaceful because you're no longer distracted by things that already happened that you can't do anything about anyway, or things that have yet to happen that you don't actually know what they are anyway. But we have that inclination to go to those places for whatever reason.
That's right. So are there any age restrictions? Can anybody do this no matter what age, or, some of the reasons why someone wouldn't do it or couldn't do it?
If you have any health issues, you would always want to inform the teacher before the class, because then they're going to be able to say, maybe don't do this one, and so on. There really are no age restrictions. a lot, like I said before, the practice is about uniting the mind and body. So when you're listening to the feedback you're getting from your body, you almost already know what's good for you and what's not to some extent. And I always tell people, I can't hear what your body is saying, so you have to, that's your responsibility. But so age, there's really no limitations other than whatever physical limitations you currently experience, which should not stop you from trying a yoga practice. Maybe you need to start in a gentle practice. They have chair yoga. There's a huge spectrum of possibilities if you want to bring yoga into your life. It's accessible to everyone.
And you can actually benefit from it because it is a lot of, to me, stretching, and it makes you more flexible. I think, when you said to someone, well, that's the reason you need to be, because you're not flexible, you need to come. And it does make you more flexible. And one of the things that I think is important, too, as we get older and, caregivers are dealing with all of these different issues, like with their loved one who has Alzheimer's. A lot of times the Alzheimer's causes the brain to, it's going to be off kilter and they're falling more and things like that. And caregivers have to keep themselves strong. They have to be there to be the caregiver. And one of the things that happens as we get older is we're not as balanced as we used to be. We find that we're tripping or,
and our bodies can be more rigid.
And
then they break more easily.
Right. So a lot of yoga is concentrating on balance too, isn't it?
Yes. And I always say there's two components of balance, being grounded and being focused. And so we, connect to the bottoms of our feet and feel that sense of groundedness, and then fix the gaze on a point and focus. And so, yeah, balance definitely is a benefit that could come out of yoga practice. And also, you were talking about caregivers could actually have to do like physically strenuous things, right? So in that respect, in order to maintain your health, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
So if you're not using your full range of motion and then you're going and doing some challenging thing, you're much more likely to potentially injure yourself than if you have your full range of motion and then you go to do the strenuous thing. So in that respect, it's valuable too.
Right. This is awesome information. I hope that you're enjoying this as much as I am. We'll be right back after the short commercial break with more from Brooke.
Do you need the advice of an elder law attorney, but perhaps find it difficult or overwhelming getting to appointments? The solution is the Elder Law Department. They bring elder law to you by meeting with you in the comfort of your own surroundings to discuss your personal situation and family needs. In practice since 1994, Heidi Friedman is a member of the Elder Law section of the Florida Bar. She and her team help families with issues that include incapacity and estate planning, asset preservation, veterans benefits, and other legal issues that seniors may face. Call the Elder Law Department at 954-383-1143. 954-383-1143. They bring elder law to you. Make First Choice your first choice for home health care. First Choice is state certified for Medicare covered services such as medical treatment and rehabilitation. Qualified healthcare professionals come to your home and work closely with your doctor to build a care plan designed to get you back on your feet as soon as possible. Founded and operated by registered nurses, First Choice Home Health is dedicated to providing exceptional home health care. Their highly skilled medical professionals have the knowledge and ability to provide patients quality care. Call First Choice Home Health at 561-296-2770. That's 561-296-2770. And tell them you want them as your first choice. Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and we're back with Brooke Wazak, awesome yoga instructor. And Brooke has been sharing with us about yoga, how yoga can benefit you, the caregiver, in many, many, many ways. And, you know, Brooke, I could talk forever with you. I
could too.
enjoy your energy. We talked about that. I know that there's lots of things we could share with caregivers, but, you know, obviously, we don't have a lot of time left. So if someone has heard something that they like, they want to contact you, they want to find out how they can sign up and get a class with you or any other information, how can they do that?
Well, there are two ways. They can find my Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/Joy Yoga. My middle name is Joy. And also, they could call me at 561-452-8530. So again, it's Facebook.com/Joy Yoga or 561-452-8530.
So you've got it. You learned about yoga. It was a fun time with Brooke. Don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same place. And don't forget to give someone a hug in the meantime. And a quick reminder that we are still taking entries for more free tickets for the Alzheimer's Community Care event on November 18th. So stay tuned for more information, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on CareGiverSolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.